Hello everyone, last month I bought myself this 72 colored pencil set from Arrtx, which I really wanted to try out for some time, and now finally this can be bought in Romania too. I really love how this box looks like and all the colors which are included, but more than probably I will take up the colored pencils from the box at one point. I also received for Christmas this A4 art creation mixed media sketchbook, which I wanted to try out for some time as well. And I wanted to try these art supplies in a video to show you my first impression and my opinion about them. First, what I did in this sketchbook on the first page is to test out some art supplies to see how they work on this paper. So I swatched out some watercolors, some Inktense pencils, a drawing ink and an Indian ink, aqua markers, colored pencils, gouache, Posca markers and some alcohol-based markers to see how they work on the paper and if they bleed through to the other side or not, and what should I use in this sketchbook in the future. So my conclusion was that I will probably use some drawing ink, fine liners, watercolors and colored pencils in this sketchbook. I also made off camera a small test drawing using the art supplies which I want to use in the future in the sketchbook, and also I used a fixative at the end to see if it blends through or if I can use it in the future on the colored pencil illustrations, and it worked quite well. So I sketched out a larger illustration on the other side of the page, and I decided that I will create a Hungarian deity from the mythology, more exactly the god, and on the left side under the small test illustration I also wrote down some information about the character in Hungarian. And even if on that page some art materials bled through the other side of the page, I didn't want to leave it so blank, so I wanted to do something on that page too. So here I am using a Faber-Castell fine liner with black ink to create the line art, and I will leave you to enjoy this part of the video and I will come back with the voiceover at the next step. As I tested out on the first page of the sketchbook, the drawing ink doesn't bleed through the other page, using it as true black, so where I want to have only dark blacks I will use to paint this part of the illustration. And the good part of this Koh-i-Noor drawing ink is that it's waterproof, and after that I can go over it with watercolors because it doesn't smudge or reactivate. After I was finished with the inking, I took out my Poru Brands 24 color set of watercolors, and I decided that I will make a burnt umber wash all over the illustration with a big brush, Lately I like to do this underpainting for my watercolor and colored pencil illustrations because it gives to the illustration that more retro look, and also when I go over with watercolors to color the illustration, this underlayer will mute the colors and will show through a little bit from underneath. This step buckled the page, but I wasn't too much concerned because this step does with thicker watercolor papers the same thing too. And after this layer dried, I paint the illustration with watercolors. When it comes to the color palette lately, I really like to work in a limited color palette, and for this illustration I decided to use some different blue colors and also some orange colors and yellows. With watercolors lately I don't create shadows, only the base layers, because my new obsession are colored pencils, and I use colored pencils to add the shadows and to mix colors on the paper. I like all those colored pencil textures which you can reach in a final piece, but also how you can smooth out some shadings and highlights and mix colors directly on the paper. I choose some orange, yellows and blues from the colored pencil set which I want to use for this illustration, and also a black pencil because lately I really like to add the dark shadows with black, and in the final piece we'll have that darker and mysterious look to the illustration. This is a technique which I explored more last year, and I really like how the final illustrations look in this way. My final thoughts about the sketchbook is that I like the format and the binding of the sketchbook, but I wouldn't mind if the pages or the paper were a little bit thicker, because you get quite a lot of buckling when you use wet mediums, and I don't really know if I will create a full illustration on the other side of the page, maybe only some smaller ones, or I will make some notes on that page. And also I wouldn't mind if the sketchbook would have less pages, because this one has 80 pages, which is quite a lot to finish a sketchbook, and I am that artist who is using more than one sketchbook for different projects. So more than probably will take a lot of time to finish this sketchbook. My thoughts about the colored pencils is that they are awesome. They blend really well. They are very pigmented. I didn't had any breakage of the nibs. They are quite soft, but you can also layer more than 2 or 3 layers on each other, which I really like when I need to add some smaller details. So I will use these colored pencils a lot in the future illustrations, and more than probably I will buy the larger set too. And about the final result of the illustration, I really like how this turned out, and I was thinking that I will use this sketchbook for future mythologic mythological deities or creatures, and at the end to have an album with the mythological creatures which I created. Let me know in the comment section if you tried out these art supplies and what are the thoughts about them, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and also subscribe to my channel for future videos if you didn't subscribe already. Thank you for watching and I will see you in my next video.